What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and as promised, I was going to cover Kobold Press's Deep Magic 2 Spellcaster's Emporium for 5e. I said I was going to cover it. It actually came out yesterday, and I do have a preview of some of the stuff that's not contained on the Kickstarter, but I wanted to just go ahead and showcase what's going on there. Obviously, you can see in traditional Kobold Press fashion, it absolutely shattered its funding goal, currently at 5 times and increasing, with a still full 30 days left to go with over 3,000 backers. So again, it's Kobold Press, so I don't think it really needs a huge introduction, but maybe you're unfamiliar with Deep Magic or what you can expect here, and again, we'll go into the exclusive preview in just a sec. But it's an expansion for every spellcaster. New mechanics like true naming magic, create arcane adversaries, expand your repertoire with hundreds of new spells. It says open call for spells. In addition, this volume will include at least 20 spells written by backers, and now 25 with stretch goals. As with Volume 1, there will be an open call for all backers at the $24 level and up to contribute a magic spell. Now, I do want to say that obviously there are hundreds of spells in here, and this is an opportunity for you, if you decide to back at a certain level, to possibly generate and create a spell for addition to the game. Again, you don't have to do that. It's completely up to you. Again, this is the Pyromancer style of magic, but I believe is also what I have here. So we can go ahead and take a look at that. It says, what about Volume 1? Because all wizards grow finer with age, this Kickstarter campaign also includes a remastered version of the first Deep Magic volume for 2018, which I do actually have on hand in my other room. Completely reorganized and updated original version of the book. So honestly, if you missed out on Deep Magic Volume 1 in 2018, fear not, you'll get an updated remastered version here. So that's good to go. The remastered Volume 1 includes a few new tricks for clever casters, as well as the Thurge, an epic new base class that wields both arcane and divine magic. The concept of this Theurgy or Thurge is not something completely new to the world of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And the concept of wielding both. So again, this is Kobold Press's version for 5e here. After the Kickstarter, you can actually be able to purchase the Thurge separately, which is pretty cool. Again, we'll talk about our preview here in a second here. You can also download the table of contents of Volume 1 if you want to just take a look through it. And then, okay, so what are we looking at? So for $59, you're going to get the PDF version, looks like possibly a Roll20 version, and the physical book. For $129, you'll get both in PDF form as well as the 2 books in a slipcover, which is pretty nice. For $79, you can get the collector's edition cover, which I do like the look of, and honestly, what I'll likely end up going for is the $155 version, which is the collector's edition cover of both. I really like the collector's edition covers of Kobold Press's stuff. I have most of them, and they kind of look nice when you see them all side by side. Again, and then there's a special leather-bound version, which is just nutty, but it comes with it for a variety of different virtual tabletops. You can also see that there are a variety of different options for different virtual tabletops. We have Roll20, we have Fantasy Grounds, looks like Shard and Foundry as well, and then there's a retail version as well if you're a friendly local game store and you want to pick these up. It says 2 items from this project are Kickstarter exclusives, the Deep Magic 2 pin and the Slipcase limited editions. If you pledge for a 2-volume set of the limited edition or regular edition, it will include a slipcase. If you pledge for any print reward, you'll also get this pin that you see here. Now, there are stretch goals, which they've obviously shattered a bunch of them. So a new bardic subclass called the College of Fortune, 25 total backer spells, which we talked about, random magical encounters, a new wizard subclass, the Fey Wizard, and these are all unlocked as well, right? The complete familiar reference table, which is nice for spellcasters, random magic, tome NPC, and location naming. A Twitch stream with the designers, updating a classic, 30 total backer spells, so it went from 20, it's already up to 30. Then we have a new wizard subclass, the Vril Tradition, which I'm curious to see what that's about. Random magical descriptions, and then we can see set up for 260 and 280, we have Bard and Bard Maestro NPCs, and this Cleric Saints domain, which looks pretty good. Now, as a reminder, it's 260, which I think we already cracked. So the kobolds are currently sleeping in the Warrens, so they haven't gotten a chance to update it, but we have unlocked Bard and Bard Maestro NPCs. With 30 days left to go, I also don't think it's impossible for us to see this Cleric subclass also be unlocked, and if that happens, there may be even more stretch goals waiting in the wings, which is pretty awesome. So Yeah, I will reach out to my friends over at Kobold Press. Also, by the way, if you're looking for release dates, looks like we're looking for October of this year. And Kobold Press is pretty good about maintaining their printing schedule. So, October of this year, which means it likely will also be present at PAX Unplugged this year, more than likely. So, you should be able to go pick up a copy in person potentially. But yeah, I'll reach out to my friends at Kobold Press and see if we can't, as things go along, maybe get some more stuff to preview here. So we do have this preview volume here. It is 16 pages, right? So we have, um, a little bit here about, again, it shows about recommended spell lists and things. So let's look at Pyromancy magic, right? As a practitioner of Pyromancy, flame has always lit your path. You wove it like threads through dry branches of trees. It's one branch of elemental magic. It gives you a recommended spell list here. And then player options, embers. Spellcasters who devote themselves to pyromancy sometimes refer to themselves as embers. Whenever you would normally gain a feat or gain an ability score improvement, you can choose one of the following features instead. You can only have one kind of ember feature. So this kind of interacts with the existing 5e mechanics, and then also has a little bit of an update here. This is actually what's hidden by my head, so I'm going to have to read it because if I scroll, it's just going to jump to the next page. Actually, you know what? No, we can go to fit to one full page, and then you can read it. So we'll zoom it in here. We'll go back up a page so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. Here you go. Player option embers. I'm still kind of hiding it, but whenever you get a feat, you can get this feature, and it says breath to smoke. You can choose one. Choose for your breath to appear as thick black smoke. As an action, you can create a cloud of smoke centered on you that fills the entirety of a 5-foot space you occupy. This cloud moves with you. On subsequent rounds, you can expend your bonus action to maintain the cloud. Otherwise, it dissipates at the end of your turn. Creatures outside the smoke have disadvantage on targeting attacks targeting creatures inside the cloud. So again, this could replace an ability score improvement or a feat, which is pretty cool because this gives you additional options with, again, this particular instance being fire magic. So if that's something you're focusing on, maybe you don't really need ability score improvements because you got your abilities where you want them, or you want something a little more unique and the existing feats that are out there kind of you find lacking. Fire Rider. As an action, you can choose one huge or large mount or vehicle you can see to be surrounded by an aura of flames for up to an hour. While the flames are active, the target emits a bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for another 30 feet. They're heatless, harmless, and can be ended at any time, but while they're active, you can use a bonus action to expend a slot of 3rd level or lower. When you do so, the target's base movement speed increases by 10 feet per level of the expended slot. Flame Sucker, whenever you... I hate that word. Whenever you cast a single instance of a fire damage, you can use your reaction to reduce that damage up to an amount equal to twice your proficiency bonus. When you do, you also recover hit points equal to the damage, so you're cutting the damage you're dealing to heal yourself. Spreader, also not a great name for an off feature, but here we are. Your flesh, scales, or feathers take on an orange-red hue. Whenever a creature within 5 feet of you takes fire damage, you can use your reaction to cause a different creature within 5 feet of you to take damage equal to half the triggering damage amount. Once per short or long rest, a little bit of retributive spreading of the damage there. I guess that the name fits, I just don't love it. Upon the Rising Plume, there, that's more like it. Use your spellcasting ability instead of strength score when determining your jump, long jump, or high jump distances. That's actually really cool, allowing you to focus maybe being a little bit more of a physical character while focusing still on spellcasting. Additionally, you may use a bonfire or other flame source that takes up at least one 5-foot square as a magical springboard. That's so cool. If your movement causes you to pass through or start your turn in space with such a fire, you gain a flying speed of 30 feet until the end of your turn. You will take any damage you would normally take if you fall. This also makes Create Bonfire a really cool spell. Voice Inferno. You can transform your speaking voice into the sound of a roaring inferno. You gain the ability to speak and understand Ignan and have advantage on charisma-based ability checks made to influence elementals or other creatures from the elemental planes. Additionally, when you complete a long rest, you may choose one spell you know from the recommended Pyromancy spell list that we had at the start that has a verbal component. You may cast this spell once without expending a spell slot. And then it also has traits here. It says you can create a Pyromancy-themed version of an existing creature by taking their stat block and adding one or more of the following traits. So this is potentially, could be for a character, more than likely if you wanted to make like a pyromantic version of something like, I don't know, a gnoll. Hot as Hells. Whenever a creature begins or ends its turn within 5 feet of this creature, it must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take Fire damage equal to a d6 plus the creature's proficiency bonus. The DC is 10 plus the creature's proficiency bonus. Evaporating Aura. When it begins or ends its turn within 20 feet of this creature, any water, wine, or spirits or non-magical fluids evaporate or disappear. And Singeing Blow. Whenever this creature deals damage with a melee attack, it deals an additional amount of fire damage equal to its proficiency bonus. So it's a small little way that you can take. And this is also another thing that Kobold Press has mastered, combining things that are useful for the dungeon master while also combining things that are useful for the player, all within the same tome. So, you know, whatever you're doing in your 5e adventures, whether that's, you know, running the game or playing, you have options here. It says the Ignicy is Chronicle of Flame. Over this is, I believe, this is adventure hooks tied to this specifically, and you can see here are adventure hooks tied to that specific grimoire. And then I think this will... Oh, here it is right here. So this is the item itself, right? Wondrous item, fabled, 5th level and higher properties required by a spellcaster. That's, I'm assuming that's to attune to it. It's a book recounting the greatest fires in history. While holding the book, you can use a spellcasting focus for your spells, and it functions as a spellbook for you. Additionally, you have advantage on any intelligence-based checks made to interact with or recall information concerning creatures from the elemental planes. When found, the book's sooty pages contain the following spells. It has a whole bunch of spell lists here. Again, this is obviously very specifically seeming more tied to a wizard, but let's see if you were a sorcerer, could you make use of this book? Chronicle of Flame requires attunement. As your level increases, you gain the following benefits with the Chronicle when it's on your person. You are resistant to fire damage at 5th level. When a creature takes fire damage from a spell you cast, that creature takes additional fire damage equal to your proficiency bonus. Okay, that's not bad. 9th level, you learn 3 first-level spells that are not on your spell list. You ignore the effects on your vision, lightly or heavily obscured from smoke created by mundane and magical fires. I like that. Once per long rest, when you cast Fireball, you can choose to have it heal creatures. That's awesome. I love that. And 17, you are immune to fire damage. Once per long rest, you can cast one of the spells contained in the Ignicies as a bonus action. And then there are quirks associated with the Ignicies, which gotta love quirks. They add so much good roleplay aspects, right? While attuned, one of these things happens, or your hands are smoke when you're stressed. You feel compelled to collect ashes. You like to set fires, and so on. And then we also go on to having some additional spells here. So we have some fire spells right here. Here's Arrow of Ash. This is obviously a fire spell. 5th level, evocation for Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. 1 action, 120-foot range. You conjure a missile of hardened ash. All creatures within 5 feet of the point must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 3d8 bludgeoning and 3d8 fire on a failure. After dealing this damage, the missile releases a 30-foot cloud of choking ash that persists for 1 minute or until it's dispersed by a strong wind. When a creature starts its turn in the cloud's area, it must succeed on a con save or be poisoned. That's really interesting, and it has a damage increase. And we have things for a variety of different levels here, right? So we have, here's Ashen Lashes, right? Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. You cause 4 tendrils of magical ash to sprout from a solid surface in a non-occupied space. When you first summon the lashes and at the end of each of your turn, each lash makes a melee spell attack using your spell attack. A nice spell attack things. We don't have a ton of those in the game, which is nice. Against a random creature within 10 feet of the lash's space, dealing a d6 damage on a successful attack. Alternatively, you can use an action on your turn to command them to strike specific targets. Let's see. What other ones do we have? Let's go for something a little higher level. Okay, Fire Dance. That sounds interesting. You dance and twirl 2 sources of fire in a rapid pattern that leaves glowing trails. Creatures of your choice in the area that you can see make a wisdom saving throw. Be charmed. That's interesting. Fire dancing kind of makes sense here, right? Any creature that can't be charmed succeeds on the saving throw automatically, and if you and your companions are fighting a creature, it has advantage on the save. While charmed, it is incapacitated. And here we have Ian's Armor of Glass. This is a 6th level spell. Let's see. You conjure a magical suit of glass that fits over a target or existing armor. It appears in any color in the pattern you choose and poses no disadvantages or penalties while you wear it. You are vulnerable to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage, but you have resistance to all other types of damage. Additionally, when the armor first appears, it has a number of charges equal to your proficiency bonus. Whenever you are forced to make a saving throw versus a spell or magical effect, you can use your reaction to expend one of the charges to give yourself advantage on that saving throw. If the armor is ever reduced to 0 charges, the spell ends and the armor dissipates. Otherwise, it lasts for the duration, which is 1 hour non-concentration. Even cantrips too, which is pretty cool. Again, we have some things that are even more high-level spells here as well. Spray of Glass sounds like an interesting cantrip. Let's check that one out. Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. A spray of sharp glass shards shoots from your hand. Each creature in a 15-foot cone must make a dexterity saving throw or take a d4 slashing damage and have disadvantage on the first attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn, and that increases with normal. See, I like that. We don't get a lot of AoE cantrips, and it's like, it's glass, right? So that kind of fits with the Pyromancy sort of, like obsidian style. And then there's also an illusion one here called Smolder. You wreathe yourself in small illusory flames that appear to lick and flicker on your limbs. For the duration, you have advantage on intimidation checks. When the flames first appear, creatures within with 3 or less intelligence must make a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until the end of your next turn. While frightened, they can only take the dash action away from you. That's an interesting choice for a little bit of a control-based cantrip. And then we have some more stuff in the end here, right? Campaign builder, cities and towns, and just some stuff for things like Tome of Beasts 3 and the original, or the Vault of Magic with various magic items and things. So there you go, folks. That is Kobold Press's Deep Magic 1 and 2, realistically, that are both available on Kickstarter. The numbers keep going up as I look at it. Now, I did want to take a look at this because there is something interesting under the frequently asked questions of this, right? So what changes are you making? They pretty much outline all the changes they're making to the first D-Magic. Now, how does this interact with Project Black Flag? If you've been following along, I've covered it here in the past, but the OGL situation is shitty. Nobody can disagree with that. And Kobold Press, as part of this, announced their Project Black Flag, which will be their fantasy core version of a RPG written not under the OGL that exists, potentially under Kobold or Paizo's Orc license. But how does Project Black Flag affect Deep Magic? For those who don't know, Kobold Press is creating a new core fantasy rule system codenamed Project Black Flag. Deep Magic, both volumes, will be forward compatible with the Project Black Flag rule system. So if you're worried that you're like, why am I going to invest in this because I'm going to be done playing 5e, but I'm curious about Project Black Flag, well, they're committing right here that both volumes will be forward compatible with Project Black Flag, which does give me a lot of hope that that may be the easiest transition for those of us looking to leave 5e behind and want to go to something else. Now, that doesn't stop me and other creators from going out and looking and talking about other RPGs out there. I have a whiteboard over here with probably 30 different RPGs that people have suggested me to try out, which I will still be looking at and covering and, you know, learning. We can learn that journey together. You know, hey, how's it gonna go to transition to Pathfinder, how to play that, or Cypher System, or what have you. But like I said, that's a pretty awesome thing to see from Kobold Press, that they're at least having those thoughts now. How can things be forward compatible? And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so it's will this project use the OGL? It also states here, I just want to throw this. It says, yes, this project has been in the works for well over a year as an OGL 1.0a release. It will be our last Kickstarter to use that license. So if you also were wondering why you may see OGL 1.0a language inside Deep Magic Volume 2 and are saying, well, what about Project Black Flag? Well, again, they said it'll be forwards compatible and that this is the last project in line that will use the original OGL 1.0a. So anyway, I'm very excited about this. I am going to be picking this up immediately after we're done here. And yeah, I'll reach out to my friends at Kobold Press. By the way, I will say they have said, and I will let you know this now. Well, first of all, do you have any questions regarding Kobold Press's Deep Magic Volume 1 or Volume 2? Let me know. I can obviously reach out. I could possibly set up an interview to talk about things and get stuff going with our good friends over there. They have told me up front that they are not taking any questions regarding Project Black Flag at this time. So if the questions are about that, you'll have to save them till they're ready. But I will continue to stay, on top of this. And if they'd like to bring me in to discuss things early or poll community and things like that, we can definitely do that. But yeah, if you have questions about it, let me know. If not, I'll see if I can't get some of the designers on to talk about the thought process and what's going into it. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.